Cam Newton wakes up at 4:20 a.m. and goes to bed at 11:30? That's 4 hours and 50 minutes of sleep. Why not wake up at 4:30 and get an even 5? Maybe if Cam got more sleep, his coach wouldn't be a more accurate passer than him. Welcome back, everybody, to Odd Man Sports on the game day. I'm your host, Brandon, still trying to slide in here like Chris Collinsworth Perna. I'm also the host of That's Good Sports, and if you subscribe to both channels and DM me your address, I will look up your house on Google Maps and then Photoshop your chimney into a Bills Mafia brand dildo. This week on the show, we've got Kyler's sad gifts, Baker's hard truths, and a Washington football team take that just may surprise you. I mean, it probably won't, but it might. Week 16 came and went, with most people focused on playoff implications and their fantasy teams. Not me. In La Casa de Perna, this was revenge week. While 4 division titles hung in the balance, I was focused on former Bears great and current Jaguars quarterback Mike Glennon settling the score against his old squad. And because revenge is a dish best served cold, Glennon threw 2 picks and a 24-point loss. Then I flipped over to the Chargers-Broncos game for the revenge matchup absolutely nobody was talking about. Chris Harris Jr. and Melvin Gordon regular. 2 number 25s that dramatically switched teams and changed their fortunes. Instead of playing for a 5-10 AFC West team right now, Chris Harris Jr. decided to forge his own destiny and sign with a 6-9 AFC West team. Smart move, Chris. And in the main event, Josh Rosen showing his ex, the Cardinals, what they were missing out on by collecting $88,000 from the Niners to hold a clipboard. Not even a degree from UCLA Med School could get you a job that good. Watching the Cardinals-Niners game, I had this thought. Josh Rosen might be a genius. Remember 2 Sundays ago when Joe Burrow tweeted out this? Watching is not as fun as playing. Well, Mr. Joe Burrow, do you know what watching is more fun than? Physical therapy, which is where Joe Burrow probably sent that tweet from after his knee was shredded like spaghetti squash. Rosen, meanwhile, is collecting almost 6 figures a week to not play. And this is after he pulled in $18 million on his rookie deal. And while most starting quarterbacks are nursing a variety of injuries at this point in the year, nobody's ever laid a glove on Teflon Josh. His knees are fully intact, and that egghead brain of his isn't the slightest bit scrambled or Sunnyside CTE'd. Sure, for a decade, he will be remembered as a first-round QB bust. Do you know who else is considered a first-round QB bust? Half of the quarterbacks taken in the first round. Meanwhile, I'm writing, recording, editing, and uploading 5 to 10 videos a week despite never knowing what the fuck the YouTube algorithm is gonna be. And speaking of WTF, am I the only one who every time I see Washington football team abbreviated on Twitter, I can't help but see what the fuck? I realize these WFT tweets actually read better this way. For example, what the fuck? Dwayne Haskins will start today versus Carolina. Per source. And I first read this Schefter tweet like, Dan Snyder, what the fuck? Minority owner trying to extort me. Or this random fan tweet, what the fuck? My wife wants to bring Dan Snyder into the bedroom? Actually, I think that last one I read correctly. In a move, the opposite of WTF, the WFT sent Dwayne Haskins packing. The guy happiest about the Haskins move? Taylor Heineke? Alex Smith? No, it is this guy, Jamarcus Russell. After a decade, Jamarcus Russell is finally off the hook. And for the next 10 years, Dwayne Haskins will be the knee-jerk comparison every time an early first-round pick flames out in spectacular fashion. I'm not sure exactly why Russell and Haskins are criticized so much, more than a guy like Josh Rosen. but I bet Booger McFarland has some thoughts. Booger, on Monday night on ESPN, chided African American players for their lack of professionalism, and my favorite part was Adam Schefter's reaction.
They play a child's game to get paid a king's ransom, and it bothers me because I saw a quarterback do it.
You could almost hear Adam Schefter's thoughts listening to Booger unicycling down the third rail. Dude, shut the fuck up. This job is the only thing stopping my wife from dating her Peloton instructor. Stop saying things that I, as a white man, am not comfortable responding to on television. If Booger keeps keeping it real on live TV, they're going to put him back in the Booger Mobile and motor him down to ESPN 3 duty, where he gets to call Coastal Carolina games until Twitter forgets that they canceled him. Moving on, during a comeback win over the Colts, the Steelers finally locked up the AFC North. This was followed by a Juju Smith-Schuster-led choreographed post-game TikTok dance in the locker room. Look, I don't know much about tick and talk, but I know that it is ruining football dances. We used to have Steve Smith rowing the boat to mock the Vikings' nautical orgies, or Doug Baldwin pooping the ball into the end zone. These things used to mean something. Unfortunately, there isn't enough Kyrie Irving sage on this flat earth to clear all of the bad juju out of the Steelers' locker room after they get knocked out of the playoffs in the first round. And speaking of misreading the room, Kyler Murray, or Calamari as my best friend Aqib Talib calls him, botched his Christmas gift list. As you probably know, there's a long tradition of quarterbacks gifting their offensive linemen ungodly expensive gifts like Rolexes, televisions, and full golf club sets like Josh Allen gifted his line for protecting his backside into the MVP discussion. What does Kyler Murray get his teammates? Original paintings of themselves in uniform. Here's my impression of a Cardinals offensive lineman opening his gift. Oh, thanks, Kyler. What is it? A painting of myself. Yeah, I'll hang this up right now, Kyler. Just gotta go to the bathroom real quick. Definitely putting this up above my bed, Kyler! It's time for Money Talks.
Hey, if money talked, would it sound like this? I believe so.
And this week we're talking about feelings and why it's important to bury them deep down inside and never let them bubble up. On Sunday, before their game against the Rams, Russell Wilson arrived at the stadium in a Kobe Bryant jersey, touching off a race to bet the Hawks at minus 1.5. In this instance, they covered, but this is exactly the kind of emotional nonsense gambling strategy that keeps casinos in business. Remember back in 2017 when the Wizards showed up for Game 7 dressed in all black for a Celtics funeral and then promptly lost? Or in 2014 when Raiders head coach Tony Sparano dug a ditch and buried a perfectly good football after an 0-4 start? And the team lost its next 6 games? And the latest fad, betting on the Cowboys in games in which Mike McCarthy dresses up like Gallagher and smashes watermelons? Betting on pregame outfits and performative actions is a recipe for losing money. So what's the recipe for winning money, you ask? Betting on Josh Allen every single week. Over the last 7 weeks, Allen and the Bills are 7-0 against the spread, which the team commemorated after their 29-point win over the Patriots. If you rolled over $100 on the Bills each of the last 7 weeks, you'd be up $9,000. I did this for 6 weeks. Then I saw Josh Allen wearing shorts in 12-degree weather. And I was like, he'll catch a cold. And I promptly loaded up on the Pats at +7. Find value, not narratives. Bury your feelings like Tony Sparano's football. It is the only way to win. Odd man out. In the words of LeBron James, Cleveland, this one's for you. It's been a hell of a year for the Browns, and everyone, including myself, is happy for the long-suffering Cleveland fans, which makes what I'm going to say even more difficult. Who do I believe won't be watching their team play in any playoff games? Browns fans. I mean, everything broke right for the Browns this year. Baker improved more than maybe any player in the league, to the point Chris Collinsworth was comparing him to John fucking Elway on Sunday. Kevin Stefanski, in his first year on the job as a Coach of the Year candidate, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are the best 1-2 running back punch in the league, and Myles Garrett is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and far more improbably a Man of the Year candidate as well. And it still wasn't quite enough. The Ravens, Dolphins, Titans, Colts, and Browns all stand at 10-5, and one team isn't going to the dance. This Sunday, the Browns play a Steelers team already locked into the 2 or 3 seed with Mason Rudolph at QB. So, the Browns could conceivably win and make the playoffs. In fact, 538 has those odds at 59%, but Nate Silver is 100% wrong. All the Browns had to do was beat the 1-13 Jets in a game they were double-digit favorites, followed by a Baker Mayfield presser in which he snuck in a "How I Met Your Mother" quote, and the first Browns playoff appearance in 18 years was on. What happened? They fumbled away the opportunity like a greased-up Ernest Biner. A quick autopsy of what happened to the Browns. First, linebacker B.J. Goodson tested positive for COVID, and then 4 receivers who were his close contacts were ruled ineligible, which is weird because I thought you couldn't get it from a B.J. So, what was the game plan with the team's 4 receivers ruled ineligible? Baker threw 53 times to 0 receivers, and they lost by 7. A very Browns end to a very un-Browns year. Kevin, do not forget what got your team here. Running the rock to set up the pass. Do that on Sunday, and I can burn that stupid brown bag and admit I was wrong. Throw 53 times against that Steelers defense, and I'll keep this imaginary seat warm for you. And that's a wrap on 2020. Maybe next year will be a little better. It can't be worse. Wait, what's this I'm hearing? There's a new, more contagious mutation of the virus spreading out of the UK? Oh dear God! Is it what turned Britain's most famous export, Hugh Grant, into a murderous doctor in The Undoing? This is a worse ending than I could have ever imagined. And I once imagined a President Tom Brady.